Good afternoon.
Hey
How are
Grant, how are
you?
you?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. All
Good
right.
morning, Grant.
Hello, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good. It could be a quick meeting. But
To answer all my questions will be fine.
got your questions. That's the main thing. Um, it's interesting. I think as we get to the sort of crazy end of the year, um, we're having less people coming. Um, but sometimes they just take time to come in. So,
Yeah, I
um,
was gonna say last time we started off really slow, and then within about 10 minutes,
it's the,
we had most of the people here.
we started
That's
getting more.
great.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah.
I know
Last
I've missed a couple just
Okay.
because we've been busy,
The
you know.
life. Yeah. Exactly. hmm Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Some of the things that we started all this stuff during COVID, and um, people were home anyway, and so I think we had lots of the show up rate for this was pretty high every week when people were home anyway, and now we're back into our crazy lives, so it's a bit different. But anyway, we'll see. We always manage to fill in the time, so we'll see what happens. Um, but we might as well tackle your question. Um, I guess you can just speak freely if you want. You can just tell me
Say,
what
I
you.
think I put it in
Yeah.
the question thing
Had it,
like
had
at 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday, um, because I had nothing better to do.
it. Yeah.
I am struggling with if I create a, a paid replay that they haven't paid for yet, and I want to put a button on the dashboard that says replay, and that will take them to probably a PayPal payment.
hmm
And then I probably need to add a tag when they do that.
hmm
And then I want them to get like a welcome letter. Hey, you got your replay. Welcome, welcome. And then from there, I want to send them to the replay, which is in Searchy.
Okay.
Can the tag help do that? And am I guaranteed that if they go to the PayPal link that they actually buy? How do I do that? That's always my
Yeah,
quandary.
I think. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Um, so it's always key to look at the overarching logic and what are the steps that we're trying to do, services aside, right? So if we so
Yeah.
looking at that, they're coming from Obvio. So I'm just checking that they're coming. So they're seeing a button on the Obvio dashboard.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then it's a matter of taking them to a payment page, and only making a change to their attendee record if they purchase, and then sending them somewhere where they get access to those videos. Now, it sounds like you don't necessarily need to bring them back to Obvio to do that. You're happy for them to end up in Searchy to access the video. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I could put the video back on the dashboard
Yep.
and then they could come back to Obvio and there's a replay button that they
Yes.
would see.
Yes. Pros and cons for that. Is it better that they are in Searchy once they've, or because I mean you can embed the Searchy video into the dashboard and still have that sort of functionality of searching things like that.
Okay.
But I'm not positive on that. I haven't used it for a little bit, but there might you might have some larger advantage to them being in the Searchy platform, and maybe they get access to some other videos or some other free videos or things like
That
that, perhaps.
that's an idea. They
Yeah.
could have
So
free videos.
if that's the case, then updating. updating the Obvio attendee record doesn't matter so much,
Okay.
apart from the fact that it would be nice to remove that, remove the upgrade, button for them, because you know that they've already purchased. So you can take away that button, and perhaps on the
Okay.
dashboard you could have something else as well, right? Like they can access something else, or they get a PDF or something else. But there's something to say thank you for upgrading. So that makes sense to me. So now we're just back to connecting those systems, and when we take Obvio out of it for a moment, what you're doing is actually quite a straightforward payment in front of Searchy,
Okay.
which I think there are options for that. That would
Okay.
be interesting to explore. So simplifying it down to, how do I put a payment gateway in front of, a paywall in front of Searchy? Think of that, and then chances are that Zapier or something could be included in there somewhere. PayPal to Zapier to Searchy,
I
and
was
if that was,
wondering if I had to do a Zap, or if I add a tag,
mm-hmm.
it could send them an email from Active Campaign that
Yep,
then that says, welcome, thanks for upgrading. Here's the link to the Searchy account.
yeah. I mean, you
Or is
could use
that kind of more than I
no,
need?
no, that could work. I guess I would be also exploring upgrades through Active Campaign. Whatever way you do it, you can double up and get that data coming to multiple places, so that if it was Active Campaign that was handling the payment, and then the other thing is how you're securing the Searchy platform, and if you're creating a user on Searchy, so that
Yeah,
then,
I would have to do
right,
that.
yeah, so it's creating a user that gets them access to that, um, and so at the same time as it's creating the user on Searchy, it could also be that it's gone back and updated Obvio, right? Because you could do that with the Zap, where it's doing multiple things at the same time, and that's not necessarily one thing to the next, but one thing to two things, and then that makes the changes in multiple places. So, having not done it myself, I guess I would explore first Active Campaign, about doing payment through Active Campaign.
They don't specifically take the payment.
Yeah.
Um, it's
So
just
then
CRM, but
you are using PayPal or Stripe or
yeah,
something.
yeah, it would be PayPal or Stripe.
Yep.
And then I guess the little part that I don't know if it happens is there an assurance that they actually made the payment before
You
we
don't
up?
you don't need to, you don't need that. The only reason you would want that is if you had no way of knowing that they did make the payment. But you will get that, as in,
Right.
if you connect PayPal to Zapier, or some of these things will have integrations themselves. And that's what I'm not sure of, if Searchy can have a direct PayPal connection, and then you're sending them straight to Searchy to do the upgrade. That's what I'd be exploring, is that paywall feature on Searchy, and then that can do that directly. So yeah, that that
I see what
that's
you're
the key
saying.
thing. Yeah, so then you'll know that the payment's been successful, and that's when you would flag it either back. Well,
I
um,
see.
that's when it will create the user in Searchy. That could also update your Active Campaign user, and if you've got your integration with Active Campaign going through to Obvio.
So Obvio, yeah, that already happens.
Exactly. So then you'll get that update.
Okay.
And now on Obvio, you can say, you can take away the upgrade button and say, thanks for upgrading, you know, as a reminder, here's your link or something to get to Searchy, or you can embed it there as well, right? You could have both options where here's the video, or you can go to Searchy directly and you'll find some other content there. And that's another that's another mindset as well as to where Obvio sits in your whole kind of ecosystem, where generally we're thinking of Obvio as being for around the event, just before it and during it and after it. But some people are using it, longer term and in between events. It's not necessarily designed for that. It doesn't mean that you can't. It totally can.
It works great though.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
Because it's a great central location to dole out information or give them resources because they all know how to get into it. So
that's right.
The
It's
dashboard
really
makes it really easy.
Mm-hmm.
If I send them to a website, they get lost.
Yeah, so and that's fair enough. You're totally welcome to use it that way, and it's not abusing it in any way. The only reason I say it is that we haven't designed features specifically around community building, ongoing community building on the dashboard. It's not to say that we won't do that.
But it's happening anyway.
But it does, exactly. And it's totally fine.
You've made such a cool product.
And so that's totally fine. I know that things like Searchy, or there's, a handful of other kind of online community platforms where you can interact a bit more with people, and people interacting with each other as well, things like that. But that is something that we're exploring, because we would like people to be able to interact a bit more with each other during the events. So yeah, watch this space. That'll be an interesting thing. That would be another very cool feature if we could pull that off. So,
well, you kind of answered my question. I think I probably need a Zap to make it actually happen, but
I think so.
But I think that there's some integration that I can look into. Okay.
Yep. It's a very modern web thing to do now. All of these, integrating one service to another, and all these different platforms that.
So I guess that's part of the question is, so when Blue and Berry have an upgrade button, and then you get the email that says, welcome, and then you can pay in full, or here's the payment plan.
How's that done?
What are they using?
That's all with Keep.
Okay.
So Infusionsoft. So that would go back to Infusionsoft, take them to a payment plan, a payment page, take the payment, update the tag, send them an email, all of that, and that updates the tag in Obvio. Obvio now shows that they've done that. And so that sort of stuff is also an extension of Marketplace that we would really like exactly what you're doing now. We would love for Marketplace to have add-ons, and currently that's not at all built in. It's because if a logged in attendee tries to go to the Marketplace, it just takes them back to the dashboard because it just says you're already logged in. But we totally see the need for doing paid upgrades, and so doing that all within Obvio would be really nice. And so we know that would be a cool thing, because now you wouldn't need to integrate anywhere else. And if you wanted to sell a PDF, or not even a resource necessarily, but you wanted to pay for a VIP experience where they get a special Q&A, or they get a session on the end of the day, or whatever it is, a bunch of things, then that upgrade could happen anytime during the event, and then their dashboard would change a little bit, and they get access to the special VIP Q&A session. And that just automatically shows their button and away they go. So we want to build that in, and of course that is reliant on our new marketplace system.
Yeah.
So
That brings, I'm going to be one of those. I have yet another question,
how's that
but
going? Yeah.
this one is that so in the buttons, when I'm making a new button, I only want it to show after I've made the offer in the talk.
Okay.
Do you set it based on time, or do you set it based on something else so that it only shows up then?
Mm-hmm.
I have tried setting it up based on time slots, and I've had some people tell me they don't like using time slots. They don't like to add a time to a button.
Yep. So the philosophy behind that is that we still believe that digital events should not be restricted by time or space, right? And that there is a sense of, when you're attending a digital event, that you go on a journey as a community. Sometimes it's really cool. Even you can sometimes orchestrate this. You could pre-plan it, but you don't say it. And that's where you make changes, where you're like, hey, we got so many questions in that last session. We're going to open up a lunchtime session specifically for doing questions. Or we're going to start an hour early tomorrow because we want to do Q&A, because we got so many people asking questions. And everyone feels like there's this special thing that's just happened, and they're really listening to us because they could see that we've had lots of questions, and now we're having this unique experience that's being created. It's unfolding in front of us. Same again when we see this with Tony Robbins events all the time, where he is kind of ranting on a whole bunch of things, and can blow out a session by half an hour or an hour or whatever. Now, that's all relative when you run 16-hour days or whatever stupid. But the idea is that there is a feeling like you're on a journey, and you're not restricted. As a host, you're not restricted by certain time slots where you're like, I have to finish now. Although I really felt like we had some great questions there and there was real traction with that session. But no, we have to finish. You add a level of stress to people when you're imposing these restrictions on time, right?
Okay.
It's like,
but if I want,
all right.
So if I want that button to be there when I
I'm
get done
sorry.
talking,
I'm
can
sorry.
I set a button time?
So here's the thing. I'm sorry. I'll get to the point.
Okay.
I'm not restricted by time or space, so I'm not
No,
even
you're
answering.
not. Don't let
I'm
me
not
restrict
even
you by
answering
time.
your question. Let me answer your question, and then I can come back to the philosophy more. But you can see I'm passionate about it. The functionality exists for you to enable or disable a button at any point, right? Create the button, disable it, and just because we can, let's have a quick look at that, and then I'll show the. Where am I here? Do you ever have a browser window with lots of tabs in it? I think we all do that. And then you're hunting around, and then you find another window with lots of tabs on it, and then you're like, oh, and behind that was another window full of tabs. That's what just happened. I think I've got
My phone does it.
30 tabs. Yeah. So I'll just bring up the event we're in now. So we're talking about buttons that we can enable and disable, and this goes for any feature or button or blog post or resource section or anything like that that's on the dashboard. All have enable and disable buttons on them, and so you can toggle it. So let's have a look here. Share this. So workshop recordings, if we were to look at this, we've created the button, we're happy with it, and then we could just simply disable that. And then part of your team, and that this is philosophy again, but having someone who can their key responsibility is, once the offer is being made or has been made, whatever your your decision is on that, then you can have them come and just enable it. That's the best way, because you know that it's going to appear at exactly the right time.
Perfect.
As long as you have have team members for that. The reason that we buckled under the pressure of adding time. So show from and show until. There are sometimes where you could automate that, and it could be as simple as you've got a blog post that's all about day 2, and there's no reason why at 3 o'clock in the morning you could just have day 2 turn on automatically, and at the end as well, right? At the end of day 2, I want that to turn off, and I want day 3 to turn on. I'm just going to go ahead and automate all of that, and know that that's going to happen, and it's not terribly time specific, like it's not down to the second or the minute based on what your event is doing.
Okay.
And so that's why it's there. And you could also do, you want it to be removed, like there is an offer on the dashboard that's there for 2 hours, and it's going to disappear automatically at 3 o'clock or whatever it is, and that could create some scarcity. So that's the thinking behind that. And so you've got both of the functions there. Definitely using the enable, disable, and having someone go and do it at the exact time. Knowing that, remember that dashboard updates automatically, and it basically is a rolling update that happens, that pushes out, and it'll happen every 90 seconds or so. So just remember that too. If it was really like you want to be able to say in the pitch, you can now go to the dashboard, there'll be a button there. You just want to make sure that once you've enabled it, you give it a couple of minutes, and then you are confident that it will be there.
Perfect. Awesome.
So that's how that works. And I think that we've said before too that I think people are getting wiser or more experienced with switching from the Zoom view back to the dashboard. But some people exist in a world where they only have one application open at once, and they don't know how to switch between them without closing things. So just remember that you can put your event name, the address, with .obv.io in the chat, as an example. So when I do,
You could do it in the chat, but then when they leave Zoom, they'll leave the chat and they won't have it.
yes, but the point is here that you can, people, if you were to go and click that now, it's going to take you to the dashboard. It's going to open it again, so you're going to have multiple versions of it, but it will open it in front of Zoom, and you are logged in. They have to be logged in because they just came through that, and so you don't have to give a token link in there, for example, right? Because they're already logged in. So that's really handy.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be helpful for some people. But yeah, you're right.
That's a good reminder. That's a good way.
And of course, you can then follow that up with a broadcast or whatever after the event, so.
I love it.
Cool.
And you should do most of these things before your event, not during.
100%. And that's the thing.
I had an event, was it last week? last week that somebody else had created the dashboard, and I'm telling people, hey, go here, and they couldn't find buttons because the buttons hadn't been updated to the time that we were actually in the event. So
Yeah.
that was scary.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm really strong about is anything that I can do before the event, I want to do. And so I want a big to-do list of what everything that I want to have happen, and then I want to go line by line and say, can this be either automated or on standby, but everything's done and ready for me just to click one button and it's there, or it's automated like the day 2 posts or things like that. And that's what I love about our dashboard is that we're really able to customize it based on time of day, or time in your event, and also dynamically based on who the people are. Excuse me, based on who they are, and their ticket type and things like that. And that's really cool because that makes a really dynamic experience. It's not just a static page that has a button to zoom. It's now much more dynamic and interesting, and you can do all that, and you win from that during your event, and that's you get the dividends payment of the work that you put in before. So, cool. Heather, have we got any other questions?
None that came through the dashboard.
Mm-hmm. But Kyle, hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. And I have a long comment to a very short question because you only asked me how I was. So, but I would like to give you an update on everything. And I'm sorry that Blue isn't here because it is an Obvio Leap update. So my high ticket offer is happening Friday. And the high ticket offer was or is a luxury trip to Venice and Florence, Italy. And so I started with Leap at TDE 2. So I'm looking up and I see like 4 water bottles. So I must have done 4 of these. And I just really I'm not a genius, so I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I just tried to learn what was being taught. And so now I look like I am a genius because the people who are going with me think that I am so organized and I have this thing all together, but it's really because I followed the formula. So the first thing I would say is that I did an event. Well, you know, I was doing a lot of these events for my organizations that were free events. So that's how I got familiar and comfortable with Obvio. But then when I did my event, it was only a 3-hour informational like conversation, and I charged only $49, but I used Marketplace. So I did the Marketplace and people bought the tickets. Marketplace was brand new at the time. They bought the tickets through Marketplace and that worked really well. And then we had this, then they came in on this, they registered through MailChimp. I used broadcast. I did all the things. And I was really, and people were really shocked and awed by the dashboard. They loved it. And we had our Zoom. Then for the trip, those who wanted to go, they did their deposits through Marketplace and Stripe. So I set that up. I was one of those beta testers. So they did that. And then after that, the rest of it, I just, sent that to the trip planner. But so everybody's blown away by all this automation and all these things that I was able to do. And I had the dashboard up, building community once again. And I heard you talk about that. I can't say that they necessarily communicate with one another, but there was a blog post there. But then I set up the Facebook page and for the community, for the back and forth. And also on my cover picture, I put the dates of the trip, because what does everybody want to know? Well, when is this? When are we going? When are we going? So the only people who are in that group are the people who are going, but the dates are on the picture on the cover. So like, duh, like that was genius. So we post various things to make your trip go smoother, et cetera, et cetera. But also they built up the community, and they are talking to each other, and they're very interested in what the other person is doing, and building up that sense of community, so that when we do meet at the airport on Friday, they all know one another now. The other thing is that, boom, the swag box. Oh my God. So I said, okay, we need luggage tags that so that our luggage will be identified as a group. So I bought the nicest luggage tags with the logo on it, and I designed them on Zazzle. And I said, so what else could go in the swag box? Well, like, duh, a water bottle. So I got the nicest water bottle, similar to the one that come for TVE, and had all that customized. And then I made a box. I made a box on Box Up or whatever. I designed the box with the logo, and I got the thread and everything, and I put it in, and it looked like, wow. And then I sent them UPS. And so instead of delivering to anybody's house, because they're all over the place anyway, and in various states, I sent everything UPS, and they were not expecting this. And so then they get the box with the luggage tags, with the little swag, and that would just put it over the top. And so that's why they're loving it. And all these things are things that I learned along the way in Leap and Obvio, until I get to 2 weeks before, we're going to have a Zoom, right? And I'm so familiar and so comfortable with Obvio that I said, boom, we're going to do this Zoom, and we're going to get on here. And I get home 15 minutes before it's supposed to happen, and my room wasn't opening. So now I have a technical difficulty. And I said, okay, calm it down. And I must say, I had to say, well, okay, we're going to start in 15 more minutes. I'm just going to send you a regular Zoom link. So that was the only glitch. I had to do regular Zoom. But we do leave on Friday, and I never gave them anything for points. So I figured that that if I get them involved with the dashboard again, we can award points to the highest, the person who's traveling who has the most points. And I haven't thought that through yet, but that's my story. That's my update. Thank you all so much for everything. And now, now I'm a genius.
You absolutely are. That's so good. Thank you for sharing all of that, because it
You're
really it really shows that that following the particularly following this in the footsteps of Blue and Barry, works, and they've worked that out from trial and error, and from some things that were just really great ideas. And it's a great reminder that swag is so powerful because it's tangible, right? Like it creates something that is either something that's happening in the future, or, and it can kind of seem intangible, and then it's like, this is a real thing, and people appreciate quality things too, right? Like, don't you don't you don't need a bag full of cheap, Dollar Tree stuff. You don't need quantity, you just need quality, and people really appreciate it. And so the idea that lots of people in that position would have bought the cheapest luggage tag they could find, you know, but by doing a quality one and getting it, you know, custom printed and all of that, people are just like, they love community. We love the tribal nature, right? Like we become a tribe, and now it's like, okay, and the fact that you're combining, what's super cool is you're combining virtual and then in person, and they get actually getting that. You're not trying to do it at the same time, which is awesome. And so now it's like you've all only had a virtual experience, and now you're going to come together and go on a physical journey and experience. Like that's just super cool. So well done.
Oh,
Well
and
done.
also the money. I would not have had the audacity to ask for that kind of money. My husband was like, "Oh, that's too expensive." Well, maybe it isn't. So I just really had the confidence to do certain things because of what I was learning in Leap and what I was doing in Obvio and that value added part. So if I'm asking for a top dollar for things, I'm going to give them swag that's also top dollar.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Once again, it's the quality over quantity, and now you're getting the quality of your participants. People are signing up, rather than hundreds of people, and you're barely making the money work. And so now you're able to give a more unique and personalized experience for each person, as well as collectively, because you're able to focus on a smaller group. It's so good.
And
It really is.
and also that's the other thing, knowing that it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's only for my right fit client. Like, oh my God. When I figured out who my right fit client was, that made all the difference in my marketing. And I let me know, it's a very short list and you're on it. But everybody's not on it. So they never saw it advertised or marketed anyplace else except my personal invitation to them.
Yeah. So now it's exclusive as well, right? Like it
Yes.
feels like a club. It's exclusive thing, and 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 they're totally buying into it. Like it really, and it's not manipulative at all. It is giving a really unique experience, both online and in person. So well done. That's so good. Thank you for sharing it, because it's encouraging for people as they're playing around with this stuff. And look, Obvio is used for more than enrollment based events, but it really has been built around that concept, and used by Sage for all the events. Um, and so, but often the enrollment based features are what work for lots of other education, systems and things like that as well. So we do often talk a lot about um, enrollment systems and based events, but people do use it for other things. So that's great. Thank you, Stacey. You've been patient.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Kyle, thank you so much. I needed to hear that on so many different levels. First, because I recently joined my family swag company to actually brand and help others brand themselves. So I just really needed that validation. So the timing of this is perfect, because I've actually been really disconnected from the Obvio community for the past few months as I've been learning the swag industry. So that was just so helpful. And that said, Grant and everybody, I'm just looking for help because I feel like very disconnected at this point. I did the 8-week power session in May through June or July. So I was kind of like in rhythm, and then I did TBE, and now I'm just so out of rhythm. And I want to start putting things together because I want to be able to showcase for the holiday season some of the gift wear that we have, in the branded merchandise area. And I know that there's definitely some way that I can bring it forward and turn it into an experience for potential clients. And I think I'm just not really sure where to start because I'm a little bit out of the rhythm. So I guess one thing is, how should I go back and reconnect with Avio and relearn, what's the quickest way to kind of get back in the groove of starting to create a platform? I guess not platform. What are they called?
Dashboard.
Platform. Dashboard.
Dashboard.
Thank you. See, I can't even think. So yeah.
Yeah. So was it the I'm trying to think when that was. Was that back in May that we did the
That was
onboarding?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was May through June. And actually, I should also tell you this. So when I initially, jumped in, it was specifically for teaching and coaching for the veteran and military community, because I'm a military transition coach. I don't know if any of that rings a bell, but
Oh yes. Yep.
so however, the past few months, I realized that all of my new friends that are getting jobs in the veteran community, they're all posting their swag boxes from their new jobs on LinkedIn, on social media. And I said to my family, I said, look, I can help. I just don't know how yet. And so now that it's the holiday time, I want to do some lunch and learns, or, some type of virtual event for employers that are trying to purchase onboarding for the veteran community. Holiday gifts is a big time, and I loved, Graham, what you were saying before about taking people on a journey. And, I, by training and by trade, I'm a teacher. I spent 15 years as a teacher. So, I'm all about using my imagination and bringing everybody with me on this journey through the magical world of whatever it is. And, so I'm just looking for some advice and guidance just on how to bring that together and do it kind of quickly, truthfully. So
Yeah, fair enough. Look, I think that it's just a confidence building thing again, right? Like it's just building that back up. And so we're just at the moment trying to those onboarding videos that happened, and for people that don't remember or haven't heard, Blue did a series of walkthroughs, and Heather, could you post the link to those in the chat? Now, these are the unedited versions. It was kind of like we needed to create little videos of how to do specific things throughout the platform. And what we are still working out is how we're going to make them available in the platform in the situation that you're in, right? So that you're trying to work out how to do MailChimp integration, and right there is a button to watch the video of how to do MailChimp. That would simply be a 2-minute video that was recorded when Blue did those 2-hour sessions. And I think it's eight days of that. And so we have cut those up, and now we're working out to put those into the system. So that's just an update of where we're at there. However, all of those long form unedited versions are still available, and possibly doing the first one again and just having that, just watching Blue do the introduction again will probably give you confidence, because you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. And oh yeah, yes. And and then the other thing I would just say is to break down what it is that you're wanting to achieve, or the bigger questions that you have, and to leverage these calls. So it's every week. It also it doesn't require you to be here, right? Because you can go to the update web dashboard, the one you came through for this, and post a question at any time, and know that when we come to the call, it'll be recorded, and we'll answer the question. We'll talk it all through, even if you can't make it. And so there is that. There is also the help during Eastern business hours. Then there is live help in the dashboard, and you can chat, and one of us will help you. And then there's also help@obv.io, the email, to ask any questions about what it is that you're tackling. But overall, I feel like it's just a reinvigorating of confidence, and knowing that the best thing is, as you're talking about, is having some sort of events that you have in place that are coming up, and even if it's a mock event, with family or friends or whatever, that's the best thing to do, right? You only need 4 or 5 people, probably, I mean 3 or 4 really, to test the concepts, and so that everyone goes through the dashboard, they saw how to do the button thing, they got into Zoom, and then you did your thing, and some sort of excuse to come together and do that will be a massive confidence build, right? Because it'll be like, oh yeah, that's this whole idea scales really easily. Now I can do this with 100 people or 300 people or whatever.
Well, thank you for that. And even just listening to you talk gave me a really good idea, because Veterans Day is coming up here in the States. And I think what I might even do is an event targeted toward like recruiters and hiring managers, for the veteran community, because I can help serve and support you with gifts that are curated to help, and I hadn't really thought about quite doing it now for them so much as I was thinking of how can I do certain things for the veteran community themselves. But if I use this month, it's almost Veteran Appreciation Month, I'm helping future employers, I'm making their life easier. And that's what people keep saying is if you can make somebody's life easier, they're going to say yes a lot quicker. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
And that's your unique service, is that you're solving a problem for people, and and the point is that what does it cost them to not use you, right?
Okay.
To not have you involved in it. That's what you're comparing this to. And so you're making this so much easier, and in the end it actually costs them less than it would be for them to do it, in time, in money, in whatever. And the big thing I see for you is that you are a bridge between the veterans and the employers, and it's a two-way bridge, and you are the conduit between how that works. And so so you're not just advocating on one side of the bridge and you're pushing down a one-way street. You're doing communication between the both, and you're creating that two-way street. You've made the two-way street. And so acknowledging that, that sets you up as now you've just doubled your market in a sense, right?
I love that. No, thank you so much. Even just being back here in this community is really helpful. And Kyle, I would love to be where you are in LEAP eventually. I didn't take that leap because financially I couldn't take that leap back at last TVE, but I feel like I'm getting there. And I actually sent Barry and Blue a little one of my things yesterday. So it says Barry and Blue Obvio family. So hopefully they'll get it, just saying, hey, maybe we can help you too. So
Awesome.
So never
Really
know.
cool.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, so just when I was talking about the recordings of these calls, you can see that this is live streamed. We live stream it to the YouTube channel. It's not really for the use that it's live. It's the fact that it's available straight away. Like the moment we finish this call, you can go back and you can watch it. And so even if you can't quite make the call, for the couple of hours, and you're available immediately after, it's available to go back and find it on YouTube there and do that. So that's what we do.
Thanks. And it's funny, I forwarded myself the link to the TVE 6 recordings. So last night, actually. So I think that, working together will be really helpful. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great.
Can I just say one thing to Stacy? My husband, when he realized how much I was spending on LEAP, he almost leaped out of his skin. But it was really hard to have him understand exactly the value I was getting. And so and Grant knows that I would get on these calls in the morning mostly, and I'd always have something to say, like he says, at the end. But what I found is that the only people who really understood what I was talking about was the LEAP community and the Obvio community. I didn't try to explain what I was doing and how this was all going to play out to others because it was too much work. My husband really never understood what I was doing, but now that everything has come together, now that we've almost gotten to that place where we're getting ready to leave, now it's starting to show because a lot of it was just very simple things. And one thing he would say is like, well, like basically, couldn't you have read that in a book or oh, this is so simple, but it's all the things along the way put together that make it look like you're a genius or something, but it really makes the difference, and that's what I have seen because I I don't think I would have thought about doing all of these things that I'm doing, and they're so little, but they make a huge impact. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ash, you're up. You're up.
Hey, Ash.
Kyle and Stacy, you guys are great. Stacy, I think I spoke to you before, just so you know, I think a while back. And Kyle, I think I saw you at your first event, most likely. So, yeah, probably.
I used to do everything all the time, but life is not like
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your success, Kyle. We really there was a great story, so thank you for that. Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a question regarding, and this is my first attempt, if you will, and for the event. How far out are we supposed to schedule an event? I was thinking short time for the time being, but I wanted to see, I don't know how far out are we supposed to do this.
So I guess there's two things there. You're talking about how far out you schedule it for your attendees and how they know, and then technically from an Obvio point of view, is it sort of both of those that you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first thing with Obvio is that you can do it very, very quickly. You don't need a long lead time. It's really just making sure that your dashboard is set up and ready, and that your event time window that you set on the event setup is set. And this was, I think, might have been a problem, Carl, that you had.
I think so.
Sorry, just 1 second.
I think my problems were that I had different rooms and I didn't know whether it was room 1 or room 2. Anyway, it's a long story. You don't want to hear it. Just talk.
We've enjoyed your stories. I've just got to check in with my wife who's having some car trouble. I'm just checking this for a moment. You can talk amongst yourselves for a second.
That's very important. Take care of that, buddy.
Yeah, so Ash, I think what he was going with for the dates was something I think I emailed you about earlier this week.
You're Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hey, how are you? You just want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time on the front end of your event and the back end of your event.
Okay.
Since you are now with the Obvio Pro account, you'll be able to have it for more than the 3 days, but it's not going to show when you set up those dates. It's not going to show to the attendees. So you can have it set for, you can start your event today and have it going for a year out if you're going to constantly have the reoccurring events. Because one of the things that we want to encourage is people to do it beforehand and a little bit after, just in case you need to start it earlier or end it later. Because what happens is if you have a start date that's a little bit in the future and you need to start, let's say you want to start your event right now because something's going on, but you actually never set it up to start for like another day or until 11 o'clock tonight. Your Zoom room is going to give you a message that says that you have 30 minutes and your attendees would basically just be getting kicked out after a half hour. So it just makes the experience for your attendees a little bit better. It makes your life a little bit easier. So you're not freaking out of why you can't start the Zoom room. And it just helps give you some wiggle room and it doesn't affect anything. It's not going to affect your Obvio account. It's not going to affect your attendees' experience. They're not going to see any of that. So it's just trying to make sure that you have less problems on the day of your event. And that's basically what Grant was going to get to with that portion.
I see. So, yeah, because I'm having two types of events, right? So one is a paid event. So my company, Financial Chakras, so I'm going to have a paid event, a 3-day paid event. And then I'm creating a money manifestation movement. And inside of that, I have a challenge, taking $1,000 to $1 million. And that's the game plan that we are setting. And so, and I do manifestations daily, and that's what I was asking you about. So money manifestation movement will be a free event. It's a 3-hour event where they come in, they experience exactly, and they build out a end game for, and money manifestation movement is not expensive. It's $47 a month. I mean, like literally, I don't need to do an event for that, but I want to do one because I want to give them an experience. So I figured Avio would be perfect in the front end, right? And so with that, that's the easy part, like a free event. But I'm talking about the paid event with Financial Chakras. Like if I'm when I'm doing a Financial Chakras event, how far out do I need to build that out? I mean, how far out do I need to schedule that before I can from a promotion point of view, from a filling the seats point of view, stuff like that. And that's where I was headed with that.
Yeah, I'd have to go back over to Grant for that one. I help with some tech issues, but I don't have that kind of knowledge.
I just want to say you are great at tech issues, so thank you for helping me through through all the things. Okay, but it's good to put a face to the name. So
thank you.
That's a massive cop out, Heather. You know a lot about running events and thinking about promotion.
But that was a past life of mine.
Now you're in your nursing training. You're just diagnosing my cough that I have every time I come on these calls, right?
I am. I'm secretly judging you for still having it too.
Exactly. So I mean, there's so many variables on that, and it would be an interesting one that Blue would have an interesting take on. But I think that you can make an argument for a longer lead time. There's an ideal lead time that you have, that you're promoting it, and that you have a plan, and how what that plan entails, that builds and builds and builds. And it could be that you also have some kind of free webinars, or little live streams, or things that build the momentum on that. You do an hour thing where you kind of give away some 15 minutes worth of information or something, and then you take a bunch of questions, and that all shows your credibility and in your field, and and makes people want to come to your event. Does that seem like something that you could do in your particular field?
I mean, yeah. So I do have like weekly events planned out right now that I'm offering for free. And basically the title of that is Money Manifestation Movement, because that is what I'm creating. And then those are free events. So and the point of that is I have an assistant who will do the outreach and do the invitations, right? Obviously, I'm going to do invitation from my side, right? And the goal of that is to teach people how to take $1,000 and turn it into $1 million as little as 44 weeks. That's the sub heading of that, right? And believe me, there's a method to the madness, but it can be done, right? And so that's where I'm headed with that. And my goal is to really help people, with that aspect of the game. So from there, I will be announcing my entire system that I have built out, and Financial Chakras event would be the first step in the process, right? So it's a free, paid, and then other things that I have. So so far that's how far I have gotten. Right now I'm getting stuck with even just designing the dashboard, So I think I'm gonna stick with the basics, and go from there. So that's why I was asking you that, as to how far of a lead time. I mean, I can easily call some friends or some people that I know and stuff like that and just come on down. I mean, and maybe the first run is have 20, 30 people at the event and call it a day. Whatever the numbers works out to be,
Mhm.
and then go from there. That was, if I didn't have you guys, that was my plan. Like that was the.
Well, yeah, that's that's what I would say is that uh, the best the best advice is in this particular thing is going to be your own experience. And so running an event, um, albeit a small one, you're going to learn a whole bunch of stuff, and then you'll know. Actually, I did that with a month's lead time. I think 6 weeks would be better, or whatever it is, and then you build on that and you go for the next one, because you'll know how it works with your particular market as well. And so, from a technical point of view, the dashboards can be built really quickly,
Mhm.
and so as in you give it a couple of hours or so, you can have your dashboard ready to go. So it's not that's not a big barrier, I think, as far as getting that going. The thing is too is thinking about when do people get access to the dashboard. And so sometimes we generally run our events where they get it maybe a day or two before, and it depends on if we're doing tech check or not. And so that tech check function, just to remind everyone, is where people can come through and have pretty much a one-on-one experience with ideally your team of people, or one or two people, depending on how many attendees you're expecting. They come through, they drop into a Zoom before they get to the dashboard. They drop into a Zoom call and are able to do a quick tech check and to make sure that everything's working, that they can be seen and heard, and that they can see and hear everything that's happening for it. So when they join the call or join the meeting, the event, then you're confident that everyone's tech is working. What we found um, back at the start of COVID is that was really important, because lots of people didn't have Zoom and they didn't know how it all worked. 4 years on, there's not too many computers that wouldn't have Zoom on it now. And so people are more familiar. The reason that we still continue to do tech check on some of our shows is because of the human interaction that you get. And particularly the larger the event is, the more important that tech check becomes, because it creates a human touch for the attendees even before your event started. And so just remembering this too, or position this in here too, and that is, I've done events where we turn on tech check the day before and then we turn it off for the event day.
Mhm.
And what that has meant is that sometimes I did this for an event with 300 people. And what happened is the day before we got 100 people that came through tech check. And so you could say, was it worth it to have a third of the people come through? It's like, yeah, it mattered for those people. It was a really amazing experience for them, because a day before your event, they're already really excited and ready for your event, and they've engaged with your team already, and that's a really good experience. And so it's that starfish thing, isn't it, with the kid throwing starfish back into the ocean. And it's like, but there's thousands of starfish. Why would you do it when it matters for this starfish, right? It matters for this one. This one's going back in the ocean. And so that's where I really think that tech check can work well, and it works at any scale, but particularly as it gets a bit bigger, where people can get a bit lost in the event. Carl?
Are you still calling it tech check? And why did those people choose to do it?
Um, why did people choose to do it the day before?
Well, why did they feel that they needed tech
Needed
check
to.
if that's what
Yeah.
you still call it?
Yeah. We have called it tech check. We have called it registration check-in. You know, like we use it in those sorts of terms. And we say if you want to make sure that your technology is all working okay. One of the things is that it's also an opportunity to teach people about setting up their technology well so that it gets out of the way, so they're not fighting with it. And so that could also be, do you want help with connecting your laptop to your TV so that you can have a bigger experience, and set yourself up in a lounge room or something like that so that you can have that sort of experience? Then come along the day before and we'll make sure it's all working for you, right? And it's going to be a test of exactly how the event is. And so then, particularly if you're doing it, if you're doing breakout rooms, where you send people into small groups for breakout room discussion, tech check is really helpful because you know that no matter how much experience some people have had on Zoom, it's possible that they've still got the wrong microphone, uh, uh, the wrong microphone selected, the wrong camera or whatever, and they get into a 10-minute breakout room session and they totally hijack that whole 10-minute session because they're trying to ask if their microphone's working and someone's trying to be nice and trying to help them. And meanwhile, they're totally distracted from what you wanted them to do. Whereas if they had come through a tech check and they'd fixed it there, then you know confidently that all of your people are going to go into breakout rooms, and that their systems are working, their microphones are working. More times than not, the cameras are working. It's harder for people to mess that up, but they can have the wrong microphone selected or it doesn't work or whatever. So that's anyway. You weren't asking about tech check necessarily, but just about thinking about your event and the things that you can do. That's another one that you can do before your event even begins. You can do something on the day before, and have people come and build some anticipation around your event. So, but I really encourage you to just do it. Like just decide what you think your very minimum amount of lead time is, and do that. And then because that's just going to get you to there quicker. And then you can decide, yeah, you know what, I needed an extra week or I need an extra 2 weeks or whatever it was. But at least you'll have that event under your belt, and you can then make your decisions from there.
So I am setting up. Heather, thank you for sending me the marketplace enabled. So I am setting up the marketplace, but it keeps on. It's because Heather, thank you for letting me know ahead of time that it's still working in the works. But it takes off just so you know, like when I design a form, and then it says, "Oh, you're missing this section or whatever," and then I'll put the section in, and then I'll refresh the page, and it takes it out, like the opt-in page or whatever you want to call it, like for my free event. I'm putting in the marketplace, and it just disappears. So I'll design it, and then I'll refresh, and I'll save it, and then it disappears. And it has happened to me 3 times so far.
Yeah. So that's a known bug. You're
Okay.
talking about marketplace on Obvio, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So the first disclaimer is that marketplace is in beta. And you might have heard us talk about this a little bit. What's happened is that we have needed to completely rewrite marketplace, and because what we discovered is a major bug in it, but also the functionality was limited. And so what happened is we said, okay, now we want to rewrite it in this new way of being able to build the page out, which gives more functionality and more flexibility that we're very excited about. But it's just taking longer than expected to get that little part over the hill. So it really will be marketplace version 2, and it'll still be beta, but initially. But yes, we know about marketplace white screen. I I don't know, Heather, if you've been able to, or
It
if you know.
works. Sometimes it works.
Mm.
I know people who are actively using it and not having issues. And then sometimes it does that.
It doesn't.
I don't
Um,
think it discriminates on people's pages. It just randomly, it's moody.
It's
so
okay.
what I would say is that if you save successfully and you see that it's all saved and working, it won't. My understanding is that it won't then just randomly disappear and go white. It's in the updating process that it's getting lost, and loses everything on the page, which is not ideal at all, right? And so let me be very clear that we would recommend against using marketplace at the moment.
Yeah.
And so the fact that some people have stuck with it and been able to make it work is great. That's excellent for them. This was and continues to be an opt-in only extra feature, and so it's only people that have asked for it, and we're reluctant to give it out to people now because of this at the moment. So there's been a few things that have got over the into the priority, a higher priority of needing to do things before getting back to marketplace, but it is right there, and we're hoping to get it over the
It's
get it
okay,
over the
Grant.
hump. Better get there. So
Thank you. But I just want to let you know that, good news is that I used to be a programmer, so I understand what what it takes. I get it. I totally understand. I was just giving it a shot. If it worked, it worked. If not, then it's okay.
I
But
think
thank you
I think
for,
you're fine. And what we actually stopped trying to diagnose the problem because
yep.
of the new direction we're going in.
Mm-hmm.
My hunch is there's a particular sequence of changes that is happening, and there is a data stream of the uh, what's the term, um, of all the settings of all the individual
Mm-hmm.
elements, and what's happening somewhere there is it's erroring out on the save, and then it just loses everything that's on that page. So then when it
Yeah.
saves, then it's back to nothing.
Yes.
And so there's just a little bug, but it's a certain sequence, and that's what we haven't determined. And then as we took a step back, we went, hang on, there's a whole bunch of this extra functionality we want to add. We've got this whole way better page builder and stuff that we're really excited about. And so that's what we'll be going down that line, which will be much better. And it's a real key feature. And just so you know, it's such a key feature that we're really holding off going more public with Obvio, like more sort of advertising and Obvio market, like marketing websites and things like that, because we really need to be able to sell tickets on the platform directly. Is a really key feature of Obvio, and so it's not just something that's being pushed to the side and one day we'll get to marketplace. So no, actually, it's a really key feature that we see, that we need for Obvio. So just so you know that.
Well, congratulations on putting the cart before the horse for the first time. So that's great. And still make it successful.
Exactly. Well, and meanwhile, we run all these huge events on Obvio, and there's
Yeah.
events running all the time. So it's but of course integrations was really key, right? So
Yeah.
that's why we continue to add integrations, so that people are doing their payments and things through, another service, which is fine.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
sweet. You're welcome. Hey, Jeff, got a couple of questions from you there. What do we got, Heather?
Hey there.
Or Jeff, you can read your own questions, whatever you want.
Yeah, I just have a hybrid event challenge that I wondered if we could chat through. Some of it's a little production, some of it's a little Obvio. Does that sound good?
Yep. As much as I hate
Awesome.
hybrid.
Yeah. Me too. So I do a number of professional development trainings for teachers. And so I have 115 teachers next week that are going to be joining, about 15 per classroom. Of course, they're going to watch the Zoom on a big screen. And if they follow instructions, and I'm lucky, they'll have a webcam pointed at them so I can at least see them raise their hands and such. What I'm trying to figure out is Zoom chat. So the plan was, excuse me, only to the broadcast rooms would have an attendee rule where they could log into Zoom and pull the video up on the big screen. But the attendees were not going to have that. And the reason why is the school is trying to minimize bandwidth. In other words, they don't want everybody streaming the video on their own personal device. But then, of course, that creates some issues with Zoom chat. Like I would love for the attendees to be able to chat and use that for Q&A. Explored using Slido and other options in the dashboard, but either it was limited on the number of attendees or it was cost prohibitive or just, buying it for a one-off event didn't work well. So just wanted to kind of float that idea by you. I believe there's a way, and I've not done this, I just know it's possible to allow chat only or maybe bring my own Zoom and turn off video and audio somehow. I was just trying to figure out, is there a way to do chat only somehow that I can interact with attendees here in studio?
Yep. Great. So let me first say, let me make sure I understand. So you'll be in studio, is that right? You'll be in your setup,
Correct.
and then everyone's are in the classrooms, and there's a group of 15, kind of 15 in each classroom. Is that right?
Yeah,
Spread
and one
across
video
the
feed per each group of 15.
Yep.
From me to them.
So the good thing about that is that I would not call that hybrid. And the reason is I would call that a digital first event.
Mhm.
And so what it means is, and it's semantics, but it's a really good way of doing it because everybody's experience is the same of you, and your experience is the same to everyone through the camera. Everyone's experiencing you through a screen, and you're experiencing them through a screen, albeit that they're in groups, and that's fine. And so that it's a really good way of doing an online event. That the hybrid nature, when we talk about hybrid, we're saying that you are in a room with 15 people, and then you're getting other people to join. And what happens then is that you create an A class and a B class. And so the people that are in the room with you have this great experience, and you're interacting with them more because you naturally will look at them. And then and then the people that are sitting on the kiddie table at Thanksgiving are the ones that are online, right? So anyway, you didn't ask me to dissect hybrid, but I just want to. It's better because I think what you're doing is great. I think it's a really good model. So now we talk about the technical aspect. There's a couple of different things here. So yes, you can totally run. There's nothing stopping you from running another Zoom meeting, and you can in the security settings, you can disable people from being able to turn on their camera. You can also disable them from being able to unmute. And you can also not, when you join that meeting, you can also not have yourself sending video or audio.
Right. Okay.
So now technically they are connected to audio, but nothing's happening. Nothing's being sent there. And whether they've got their speakers turned up or not, it doesn't matter. And there's nothing being sent on that screen. Now, it could be used as a second screen, and that can make you think, right? That second screen experience could be very powerful. If you've got people, so is the idea that there could be a bunch of laptops, people have laptops in front of them? Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, they're all bringing a personal device, likely a laptop, so that they can use the Obvio dashboard. So I'll have the emojis flying on my backdrop and all those sorts of things. So there will be interactive pieces for that, and then that allows them to send in questions as well.
Yep. So, so having the chat now you're in that same chat, and everyone, no matter where they are, is in the same chat, and that's just simply another Zoom meeting. Thinking about that second screen experience is really cool, right? Because now you can basically send your full screen video on the big screen in the room, and then any slides or things like that, you could be sending through that second Zoom meeting, and they can see it really clearly in front of them. That's a cool experience.
That's interesting. I haven't thought about that. Can you drill down just a little bit more for a second on that?
So now think.
I love that, Grant.
Think about now you've got two separate meetings. One is the big screen one, which is simply your view that you've got now, your camera, and you never really need to change that. So now you're just always present. You're always there. You can always be seen. And when you're drilling into some slides, or your whatever it is that you need to do, you want to point out some things. People have that right in front of them. They're not trying to see the screen behind someone's head or whatever. They've got a really good quality view right in front of them. And then that could be you just screen sharing, and now that's a screen share experience in that separate Zoom. And that could have your slides and whatever else, and it can always be there. And now you're not having to worry about switching that all in on the screen and whatever, because everyone's got it. Now, you could do a combination where you are still sending it on the big screen as well for people that may not have a laptop in front of them. But for people that do, it's a really good experience. They can see really clearly what you're showing, and they're right there in the chat, and you've got Zoom chat, and away you go. So you can make all that work. From a bandwidth point of view, it's not using a great deal. If you're just doing a screen share, it's not a lot. Particularly if it's just static slides. I'll tell you this just because you'd be interested, and that is that Zoom has built some features into Webinar to be able to do node-based sharing, and it's actually very, very clever, so that when people are all on the same site, essentially one computer will share that connection back out to up to 9 other computers, and so it reduces almost by 10 the bandwidth requirement for that location. So it's very, very cool. Now we're not using Webinar, as you know, but it does give me hope about where Zoom's going with some of that, even with Zoom Meeting, and how we could do some of that. So that's definitely one way of doing what you're talking about. And I think that could work well, and it's no extra cost, because you just use another room and get people to connect to that. So you'd still have to talk people through connecting to the other big screen room, and that you could handle that in lots of ways. But you can make that really clear. Join this meeting from your projector feed, projector computer, that type of thing. And then join this from your personal laptop, and you sort of make that really clear on the dashboard, and away you go.
Yeah, we actually do that in an email.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And I'll just share this too for anyone else that maybe this is helpful. So our primary contact that's hosting the event, they have a link, and there's a little parentheses behind each one. So first it says, broadcast, and it says only use this link for streaming the event to a big screen. And then there's attendee access, and it says send this to anyone that will be participating in the event, to use on their personal device. And so then with attendee rules, they can't access the video feed. The regular attendees can't, is sort of how we separate it. I do the same thing when I'm presenting to students. The teachers will be able to pull it up on the screen and do that, but the students won't be able to, send crazy emojis and distract each other in the chat during the assembly.
And so then if we went down that line of the two separate ones, are you still, you use the sign up feature then, do you, for attendees? Is that what
Yes, I use the sign up feature for attendees. Yep. And so that's great. And then and it adds a rule or a tag to them that's attendee. And so then that hides anything that is streaming room only, tag streaming room only. So it's the instructions are different for the attendee than for someone who's setting up the stream. It lets them know what they need to, URLs to whitelist, all that kind of stuff in case they run into problems. We really test it all beforehand.
Yeah, that's great. So that's one way. That's one way of doing it, is the separate Zoom meeting. The other thing is that you could go down. I mean, you already did it with Slido. There's another service that I've been kicking around, and it's called Dead Simple Chat. I'll give you the link. It's deadsimplechat.com. And that's
nice.
And that is just an embedded chat window that you could embed on the dashboard. You can also, you would be able to dig around a little bit, and there would be a way of having it log in automatically as well, so that by passing the first name, last name, and email to Dead Simple Chat embed script, it'll be logged in automatically, and away it goes. And so you will then have a chat on the dashboard, which would work on mobile as well. And now you kind of got what you need, and you don't need another Zoom meeting. So that could work well. I think it's like a couple of $100 a month for 500 people. So it's the type of thing that I think you can just do month by month. So you can just fire it up for 1 month, and away you go. So that could work. That could work well. And I guess that's the thing about you deciding whether you want people to be able to see other comments. Like, you're wanting the whole community to be able to see. It's not just a one-way questions. If it was just one way, of course, you'd do it through a form, and you could do a Google Sheet, and you can just keep an eye on that. But I think there's value in people being able to see what other people are saying.
I like the idea of upvoting like we used to do in Slido here. I mean, that's just really powerful, because you can come on and say, well, it looks like everybody's wondering, and then fill in the blank. And obviously then it shows that you really care about the audience. You're being attentive to their needs.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I like the idea of embedded chat, because it's just one less window or application that they have to manage. And then I think too, when people see a Zoom logo pop up, their expectation is I should have video and audio. So if that doesn't happen for folks that aren't tech savvy, they may think they're doing something wrong, and people get a little antsy. Versus it's embedded chat. It's dead simple, as you said.
That's right.
And less that can go wrong.
Yep. Yeah. So that could work really well. I mean, there's also nothing stopping you from doing a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, a Signal group. Like, you could have something, and that just links off. We have done quite a lot of those larger events where we'll have a Telegram group. The way you set up Telegram, you can choose whether it is kind of just a broadcast only, or whether it's a group where everyone can chat. You've kind of got those options, and that can work well. So now it is a real easily accessible mobile thing. Everyone just has their phone, they pull it out, they're asking questions, they're engaging with that. So it could be something like that, and that's another free option. But if there's a bit of dashboard interaction, which I know, like, you have sort of different resources and things that people access, then having it all there on one page, I think could be very valuable for you. So, and you're not asking people to sign up to something, because inevitably you'll have 5%, 10% of people that, like, I don't want to give I don't want to sign up to WhatsApp, or I don't want to give Meta my details and whatever, so but I will say, and I said it earlier in the call, that we are exploring how we might be able to build some of these features indirectly, this type of thing. So it'll be very exciting if we can pull that off, where attendees are able to post directly to the dashboard and chat with each other, for this exact reason, so that we're not relying on Telegram or anything else. It's all just in Obvio. So I tease you with that.
Yeah, sign me up for the beta group. Tease taken.
Nice.
Thanks. I appreciate the help. It really helps, man. Thank you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely agree with you about confusing people with another Zoom call where they're not, where it's not clear, which is possibly why having it screen share and stuff could help that along the way a little bit, where now it feels like it's serving another function, where it's now I'm seeing a screen share in front of me all the time, and it's a second screen experience, and second screen is really interesting. And when you're giving people the option, you're not broadcasting all the time and saying this is what you need to focus on, but you're allowing people to focus on what they want to see. And so when they can always see you, and then they can see some other, they can see the chat, and they can see your slides and things like that. Like, that's a really interesting, engaging experience. Particularly around education. So all the best with it.
Awesome idea.
Yeah. Cool. Was that the only question you had, or another one?
I had one more about customizing the dashboard. I don't know if I've hit a limitation, but I can screen share real quick. I can show you what I was talking about.
Go for it.
All right, let's take a look. So it's these check-in steps here, Grant. The step 1, I was trying to change that to be yellow, and I couldn't find a way to customize that in here. So it looked like it was default blue, and it's all 3 steps are kind of the same thing.
And then global styles, like
I checked in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Link color, but I played with that. That didn't seem to have an impact.
Didn't change it. Dashboard colors. Did you play with that?
Dashboard colors.
Like, as in, no, sorry, dashboard. Yeah. And then, is it picking up a color from there? Yeah. Down. So, yep. Have a look at that one. No, it's not one of those.
Doesn't seem to be in here. Yeah, I searched other places.
Yeah. So the reason everyone must think, why don't you know? And one of the reasons is that each one of our themes is handled. The colors are handled differently. And so it always, that's why we're like, is it this or is it that? Because each one is different, and in the way that where it's getting those colors from. But I think you might have hit something where it's it is limited. It's possible. It's possible that you could do a little hack on it. Blue would not be happy that I'm talking about this, but he's not here.
Not in this meeting, correct?
Right.
Only kidding.
Yeah. delete the recording.
Not on the internet. Nobody's going to see it. Don't worry, Grant.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Plus, you can't believe everything you see and hear on the internet. I mean,
that's right.
Everybody knows
It's
that.
just me and Jeff that are talking.
Gabe Lincoln said that too.
So I haven't actually tried this, but in theory it would work. So if you go to design again, I'll just show you where it goes. Design and then scripts down the bottom.
All right.
And then add. So you can actually see how you've got all those individual pages. It is possible that we could put some CSS. Have you messed around with CSS much before?
Only when I have a smarter person guiding me.
Yeah, right.
To tell you the truth.
Well, unfortunately, I'm the only one here at the moment, so we that may not work. We can probably take this offline because I could probably do a little test and then I could flick it through to you to make
Yeah,
sure that it works. But
good.
essentially, what we do is we pick up that the ID for that the step color,
Sure.
and then we
Go
and
here.
then we put it in here and we say this is the color that I want, and we sort of lock that down, and we say which pages we want it on, and away we go. So that's the theory of it. And let me just warn everyone that we don't, we have this functionality here to be able to embed things like chat or live chat bots or things like that. Like that's a key function that we use this thing for, is Zendesk live chat or livechat.com or those sorts of things where you want to be able to have support, one-on-one support for people. We created that scripts area so that you can put the Zen chat, for example, embed in, and you can choose where it will show up. And sometimes we want the events to, you can only do live chat once you're in the dashboard. But then sometimes we want ones where you want it on the login page, right? Where people are having trouble and they can't get into the dashboard, then you want that to help. Now, you can break your whole instance of Obvio if you do that incorrectly. And you put wrong code in there and things like that. So I just say that word of warning. But Jeff, if you could just send an email to us anyway, because we should look into why we can't change the color on that. And then also I'll see if I can make a little workaround for this event for you. So
Sounds good. Always trying to challenge you, Grant. Thank you.
that's right. You do. You come in at the end of these calls and throw in a challenge. Throw down the gauntlet. Don't try this at home. Exactly. Thank you, Amy. All right. How are we doing? Where do you market your events? That's a good question for other people. Where do you market your events? It's a tricky one. As far as whether you hit people up on Facebook or you're doing Facebook ads or Google ads or things like that. It's always, yeah, but it's building on those webinar lists and things that you have of people that are interested, and still hitting those, building that network.
Okay.
There is a yeah, go.
Kyle had mentioned something about marketplace or something. Come on, Kyle, don't be quiet now.
I should talk about marketplace.
Well, I didn't have any problem with marketplace, and now I'm glad I didn't, because I was one of those first beta testers. First time they mentioned it on one of these calls, I said, sign me up. And I used it without incident. And so now I'm listening like, oh my God, mind blown. So, but it was good then. I don't know, maybe you broke it.
You're a genius, and that's true. You intuitively knew the right steps to take to not break it. Yeah.
That's all. I haven't used it in like over a year. How about that?
Fair enough.
But it was working.
Okay.
Nice. Stacey?
Yes. So quick question about that marketplace, and then I have a different question. I know I had been one of the ones that asked Heather to sign me up, to opt in for it. When it but I never did anything with it. When it comes out again, do we have to manually ask to opt in again, or is the same information? How does that work?
That's a good question. I would think that we will. I'm guessing, but I don't think that we would reset the people that currently have marketplace. I think they would just start getting the new one.
Okay.
but I'd have to think about that, and then it will definitely be in beta just for a little bit, just to test it through. But and then as quick as we can, it'll just be rolled out as a function for everyone. Yeah.
So I guess
So
I do have to keep coming to these calls to find out when you say it's up live again, right? Okay. Now I know that I don't remember what it was called, camp something last year or earlier this year before TVE, camp something. Do you know what I'm talking
yeah.
Offer camp.
Offer camp. Thank you. Offer camp. I know for offer camp, you were saying that people could just almost come off the street and sign up for that. It wasn't, for lack of a better example, right? How do you, what is that called? So when I go back to look up Blue's videos, I know how to start there, because I think that might be where I start right now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and that we were just talking about that with Jeff, and that's sign up. And so it's literally your event / sign_up. And I'll show you this quickly, and then you'll know what to look for. Let me share here. If you all just look at your second screen, you'll see mine.
Not yet.
Okay, so let me think. So we'll go to attendees. No, hang on, sorry, check in. No, what am I thinking of? Login. Gee, I can't even say it's late. It's early. I've got no excuse. All right, so 2 steps here, right? There's login and there's sign up. And so login is where in the event settings we've said we can set a default password, right? And so this is whenever you're doing an event, you're wanting to think about, how am I getting my attendees in to the event? How, because there's several different options. And so free events make it a bit easier because you just want them to get in however they can. And you don't necessarily need to be creating their attendee record before you're happy for them to create it themselves. Whereas when you're thinking about paid events, you're thinking about how, once they've paid, they've signed up, how do I give them their link? And am I giving a general link that I send out to everyone? Or am I giving a login link that includes the token that takes them straight into the dashboard? So I'll try not to get down that line of thinking too much, because that's not what you asked. But I'm just explaining that one of the things is that a general link that you give everyone. So, for example, what I posted before in here was update.obv.io. If I sent that you weren't logged in at all, if I sent you that link, it would take you to the login page, and you could put your email in, and then you could put this default password in, and then they would get into the dashboard. That's for people that you already have in your system as attendees. So that's the login page. When we then think about the option here for sign up. So sign up can be enabled or disabled. Generally, that goes with payment or not payment, right? Like it's a free event or it's not a free event. If it's a free event, you probably are happy to have it sign up turned on. And this would be the page that people come to. They just have to put their first name, last name, and email. They click sign up and they get into the dashboard. It creates the attendee and it takes them in. And so what happens there, and actually you can see it. Let's do it this way. If we go to update and we're not logged in, it's taking me to the login page /login. And so if I already was a user, as I said, I'd put email and I could put the default password in, and it would take me in. And we have this forgot password option or whatever, it is available there. But also there's this link, which is the sign up link. and that's enabled so that when I click that, it takes me to sign up. And now I've got first name, last name, email. So what you would do for your event is likely publicize this address with the /sign_up. So they just come straight to here. They fill in these 3 fields, and then they'll get into your dashboard. So it gets a little tricky when people are returning, and if they try to come back here again and they try to sign up again and use the same email address. You probably had that too, Jeff, right? Where you have people that want to come back and then they can't, and they don't know how because they're using the sign up.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually, since I use it for meetings, I'll go through, and after I have a meeting one-on-one, I'll go ahead and remove the tag. That way they can get back to the dashboard, but they don't get back to the meeting. And sometimes I'll delete them as well. You have to think through what's the experience going to be for them the second time they come through, because obviously you want to make sure it's going to work for them.
Yep, exactly. And actually, you'll be happy to know this, Jeff, is that we've just done some work on this to, I can't remember, we needed it. We needed it desperately for an event that we're having a lot of trouble with. And so we built in, I can't remember where we landed, but I think what we were doing is that if you put the same email address in again, then just let them in. Just let them go through to the dashboard. And that's what we're working on, and we're trying to work out whether we create that as an option or not. And so we're talking about that, but it's on the roadmap to fix that problem, because ideally it'll just be that you can choose whether you want them to auto log in or not when they return, and that way you can just give them, everyone just has a sign up form, whether they've been there or not, and it knows that they were already a user and it takes them in. So that's what we're exploring.
That's brilliant. Love it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Stacey, something that I use quite a lot is a service called Rebrandly, rebrandly.com. And it's just a service for link shortening. But you can use your own domain name. So if you had, your event.com or whatever, and then you can create a link at that using Rebrandly, and now the address that you publicize to everyone is that address, and it takes them straight to sign up.
That'd be like a Bitly. Do you know Bitly?
Yes, it's exactly like
Okay.
Bitly. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
difference
Amy.
is that, yeah, the difference is that you can use a custom domain for free with Rebrandly. So you can use your own domain name, which is really cool. So you're not using, Bitly / something. You've got your own stacysawesome.com, and that's where it goes. And so it can take you straight. And what's really nice about that, when you're doing these sorts of public links, is that then you can have that redirect somewhere else after your event, right? So if people happen to click that again, then it could go to another static website that talks about when your next event's going to happen, rather than it taking them to a login page of an event that's already been. It could go to just a marketing website, a single page somewhere that says when your next event is, or you've missed this event now, and you can do that with Obvio a little bit as well, as far as the dashboard, and you can have an offline page, and you can have text on there as well. We've got that functionality too, but having control over your link that everyone got is a really cool thing. So
Do you happen to know if Rebrandly lets you create QR codes like Bitly does?
Yes, it does.
And do you know when you actually, use the camera, does it actually say Rebrandly on the bottom, or do you know if it says your name?
It'll say the address that you've made, as in, I mean, you can
stacysawesome.com.
yeah, exactly. It will do that. Yeah, and
Okay.
so which is important with QR codes, right? Because
Yeah.
when people see that, they want to see that they know what link it's taking them to, not some random spam site, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you can see so QR codes and you know your branding, and then it will yeah, tracks it all and all that sort of stuff. But I think I'll just check that they've still got it. Yeah, so one custom domain still have up to 25 links. So it's great. I use it constantly. We use it for all of our events, and we do some great stuff with them. So
Thank you.
I should see if they've got a referral system, because I talk about it all the time. So yeah, that's the sign up, and so you'll use the sign up function. Super easy, and it really gets people straight in, and away they go into your event. Particularly for that's what that's for. So.
I need to go back and watch this part when I'm ready. So I'll go to the YouTube link that Heather put in the chat a few hours ago.
Yep, there's YouTube. There's also a few hours. It's like, really, it feels like a long call. There's a
good way, in a positive
way. Thank you. There's a Searchy Hub link that has those onboarding videos, and then the YouTube link is for these calls.
Yeah.
Yep. And
well,
actually,
I'll watch your tutorial. For the past 8 minutes. Then I'll go back. I'll find it on YouTube. So.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you've got plenty to watch. Yeah. So that's cool.
Thank you. I'll have to look into the rebrandly. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. Particularly along the line of swag, your swag stuff and whatever as well, right? There's a bit of a connection there. So, in branding stuff. Cool. You feel special. You feel special today. Isn't that nice? You are special. Any other questions?
Searchy, how do you like? I'm not able to find the site.
Okay.
Unless it's misspelling it somehow.
Link. Yeah. Do you want to post it again, Heather? There's a specific site. So Searchy is a video hosting platform. It's called Searchy because it's, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but for people that aren't, Searchy is a platform that they really did some cool work around transcription and being able to search transcription really easily and be able to find and jump to certain words within the video. You search for something, you hit it, and it takes you straight to where the person was talking about that. So they're particularly good at that. We also do have a little integration with them with taking recordings from Zoom and putting them straight into Searchy without having to download and upload, which is pretty cool. So, and then I think they were looking at adding the ability to trim the videos as well, because that's often something that you want to do once you've done a recording. So you can kind of keep an eye on that in Searchy, but the integration is already there in Searchy to be able to import recordings directly from Obvio into Searchy. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. Love it. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. We might have come to a natural conclusion just before 2 hours, which is cool. Thank you all. So next week is 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Eastern. Unfortunately, for those that are on the West Coast, middle of the night. Yeah, exactly. It's getting later and later for me. You'll have daylight saving, and then we've already had daylight savings, so then it gets 2 hours later, so makes for a late night, but that's all right. It means no distractions, so that's the advantage of that. And sleep's overrated. Thank you, everyone. It's been great chatting. We've had a good chat over different things, so I look forward to it again next week. And you can catch us, help@ovv.io. If you need any emails, you'll catch Heather and I in there, and also the live chat on the app as well during Eastern business hours. So we'll see you then. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good luck, Kyle. And Jeff tomorrow for next week. See ya.
Thank you.